They didn't die. They just stopped moving. Picture this. You're standing in what used to be downtown Chicago. The skyline you knew. Gone. In its place, a shadow. A figure so tall it blocks out the morning sun. 1 kilometer of frozen flesh and bone, locked mid-stride, its foot planted through a 40-story building like it was stepping on a cardboard box. And it's not alone. There are 7 of them. 7 titans scattered across the planet. Tokyo. Berlin. Sao Paulo. Each one a monument to the day humanity almost ended. But here's the thing nobody wants to talk about. We didn't win. We hit pause. And that pause button. It's starting to stick. Now, before I tell you what's coming next, and trust me, you're not ready, you need to understand how we got here. How do you stop a creature that eats nuclear fire for breakfast? What kind of weapon requires the operator to die the moment they use it? And what the hell is the sub-level 4 transmission that's got every surviving military commander on Earth refusing to sleep? Those answers are coming. But first, you need to see what we saw. The day the Titans arrived. January 14, 2026. 3:47 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The first one came out of the ocean. Not like in the movies. No warning. No earthquake. No dramatic wave. One moment, the San Francisco Bay was calm. The next, something was rising from the water. Something that made the Golden Gate Bridge look like a child's toy. It was humanoid. That's the part that broke people's minds. Not a lizard. Not a beast. A shape that looked almost like us, but stretched, twisted, wrong. Skin like volcanic rock. Eyes that glowed with something that wasn't fire, but wasn't light either. And when it took its first step onto land. The sound. Imagine 2 tectonic plates grinding against each other. Now imagine that sound coming from something alive. Something that's looking at your city the way you look at an anthill. That was the sound. Within 6 hours, they appeared everywhere. Tokyo Bay. The Thames. The Hudson. The Mediterranean. 7 points across the globe. 7 titans. All moving inland. All unstoppable. Somewhere in Nevada, a 34-year-old army sergeant named Elena Vasquez watched the feeds. She didn't know it yet, but she was looking at her funeral. Look, I need you to understand something about the first 48 hours. Because what happened next broke every military doctrine on the planet. We threw everything. I mean everything. Tungsten rods dropped from orbit at Mach 25, each one hitting with the force of a small nuke. Bunker busters that could crack mountains. Thermobaric blasts that sucked the oxygen out of 3 city blocks and replaced it with fire. The Tokyo Titan took a direct hit from a tactical nuclear warhead, the first use of nuclear weapons in combat since 1945. You know what happened? It healed. Not slowly. Not over hours. The thermal cameras showed it in real time. The flesh, if you can call it that, didn't just regenerate. It adapted. The second strike did even less damage. By the third strike, the radiation wasn't hurting it anymore. It was feeding on it. Whatever you hit it with, it learned to eat. Conventional warfare was over. We were throwing punches at something that got stronger every time we connected. And the Titans? They didn't even seem to notice. They just kept walking. Now, here's where it gets interesting. 72 hours into the crisis, a team at DARPA figured something out. They'd been analyzing the Titans' movement patterns, the way the limbs coordinated, the way the heads tracked threats before the strikes even landed. These things had a nervous system. Not like ours. Something biodigital. A network of signals running through that impossible flesh at frequencies we'd never seen before. And here's the breakthrough, that nervous system had a weakness. See, the Titans could adapt to damage. Heat, pressure, radiation, their cells learned and rebuilt. But adaptation takes processing power. It takes signals. And those signals, they could be jammed. Project Medusa. That's what they called it. The last-ditch plan. The Hail Mary. And the single most terrifying weapon humanity has ever built. Here's how it worked. The resonance disruptors were massive. Think a device the size of a shipping container, hooked to a nuclear reactor. Not as a weapon. As bait. Because remember, the Titans fed on radiation. They were drawn to nuclear signatures like sharks to blood. So you set up the reactor. You crank it to critical. You wave the biggest, brightest meal in front of the monster. And when it gets close enough, when it's literally standing on top of you, you hit the switch. The disruptor fires a frequency pulse. A biodigital jamming signal that targets the Titan's nervous system directly. Every signal in its body. Interrupted. Every adaptive process. Frozen. The flesh doesn't die. It just locks. Like Medusa's gaze. One look, and you turn to stone. But here's the catch. The disruptor had to be manual. Not remote. Not automated. Manual. A human being had to stand next to that reactor, next to enough radiation to kill them in minutes, and wait. Wait for the Titan to be directly overhead. Wait for the exact millisecond when the signal would hit the core mass. And then flip the switch. Knowing they would never walk away. I want you to imagine something. You're Sergeant Elena Vasquez. 34 years old. Volunteered for this. You're sitting in a bunker underneath a screaming nuclear reactor, and the ground is shaking. Not vibrating. Shaking. Like the planet itself is trying to run. The Titan is 3 kilometers out. Then 2. Then 1. The radiation alarms are already red. Your dosimeter hit lethal exposure 6 minutes ago. Your hands are shaking, not from fear. From the isotopes already breaking down your cells. 500 meters. The lights go out. The bunker groans. Concrete dust rains down like snow. 200 meters. You can hear it now. That grinding. That tectonic nightmare of a voice. 50 meters. The ceiling cracks. A piece of rebar falls 2 feet from your head. The reactor behind you is screaming, coolant alarms, pressure warnings, everything telling you to run. You don't run. You watch the indicator. You watch it tick toward the green zone. 20 meters. The ground tilts. The Titan's foot is coming down. Right above you. Close enough that if you could see through the ceiling, you'd see the texture of its skin. Green light. You flip the switch. And for 1 fraction of a second, 1 heartbeat, nothing happens. Then silence. The grinding stops. The shaking stops. The alarms keep screaming, but outside. Perfect stillness. You did it. You'll never know, because you're already gone. But you did it. That was the victory. 7 operators. 7 sacrifices. 7 Titans frozen mid-stride across the globe. Humanity survived. But here's what survival looks like now. We live in their shadows. Literally. Entire cities rebuilt in the darkness cast by kilometer-tall statues. The Tokyo Titan's arm stretches across what used to be Shibuya. People have built settlements underneath it, using the stone flesh as a roof. The world isn't recovering. It's adapting. Scavenging. Surviving. And everyone, is waiting. Because we all know. We didn't kill them. We just made them stop. Now. I need to break something to you. That story, Vasquez, the Titans, the bunker where she died saving humanity. None of it happened. Not really. Reign of Titans, Fall of Humanity is a film. Released January 2026 by Nova AI Films. And here's the part that should terrify you almost as much as the Titans themselves. It was generated by artificial intelligence. Think about that. 2 years ago, AI video was a joke. Weird hands. Faces that melted mid-sentence. 30 seconds of footage that looked like a fever dream. Now we have coherent narratives. Emotional arcs. Military science that holds together. Characters you actually care about dying in ways that hit you in the chest. The gap between AI curiosity and AI cinema just closed. And it closed fast. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. In the film, there's a final scene. After the credits. A radio transmission from Sublevel 4, one of the deep monitoring stations built to watch the frozen Titans. The technician's voice is shaking. She says, "We're getting readings from the Prime. Neural activity. It's not frozen anymore. It's thinking. The statues aren't statues. They're sleeping. And something just woke up the biggest one. Project Medusa was designed for 7 Titans. The Prime, the one still out there, the one that never came to shore, is something else. Something the disruptors can't touch. The story isn't over. It was never over. And the next time you look at a skyline, at buildings scraping the clouds, just remember. There are things out there that make those buildings look like grass. If you want to see the full breakdown of how AI is rewriting the rules of sci-fi horror, and to track the Prime Titan updates, make sure you're subscribed. We're tracking the signal.